What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the HMR Podcasts, a marvelous retrospective. Today, on this day, I'm joined by Tyler, the artistic anomaly, and Ben, my brother from another mother.
Hello.
Once again, we are down a member. We're still, like I said last time, we're working on it, alright? So it's fine. We're just vibing. So yeah, a marvelous retrospective. Iron Man 2 is on the cards this week. Released on May 7th, 2010. So a sizable gap, like a 2-year gap, between Incredible Hulk and this movie. With the runtime of 2 hours and 6 minutes. And, it does not feel too long. It doesn't feel too short. I like that. Directed by Jon Favreau. I did say this, I talked about a little bit of Jon Favreau in Iron Man, but to reiterate, his key directorial roles include Elf, Zathura Space Adventure, and the Jungle Book remake and the Lion King remake. There's a budget of $200 million and a box office of $623.9 million. So a profit around $300 million. Like, definitely an improvement from Incredible Hulk. Still not as much as Iron Man, but still good.
Which is pretty typical for a sequel. Mm-hmm. That happens.
But it's still
did pretty well.
Yeah. Way better than Incredible Hulk. So it's a little tidbits. Jon Favreau had a lot of friction with the Marvel higher-ups due to their consistent intervention, to the point where they were having him rewrite the script as the film was still shooting. In particular, elements such as increased prominence of the S.H.I.E.L.D. subplot were the result of a need to establish the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe, in preparation for The Avengers, at the expense of the coherence of the film's own. So Scarlett Johansson dyed her hair red before she even got the part of Natasha Romanoff, aka, Black Widow, because she wanted the role so badly. A lot of Whiplash's identifying features were suggested by Mickey Rourke. He wanted to perform half of his role in Russian and consulted on the character's tattoos and gold teeth, as well as having a pet cockatoo. In fact, Rourke paid for
That's because he actually, to prepare for the role, he visited a prison in Russia, and he wanted to see what defining features they had. That's what he contributed.
Hammer's factory is actually Elon Musk's SpaceX facility in Hawthorne, California. The people walking in the background are actual employees. Even though the filming took place at night, which is hilarious. Elon Musk got a cameo, and it's really funny. I like it.
It's really bad, and it's really funny. It's probably the dumbest cameo I've ever seen. It's so good.
So, when first talking with Senator Stern, Tony Stark says he would gladly accept the position of Secretary for Defense. Which is funny because in the comics, Tony Stark actually was appointed the Secretary of Defense. So, when Marvel first hired Samuel L. Jackson to play Nick Fury in the first 2 Iron Man movies, they wanted to keep it very secret. They actually drove Samuel's car onto the middle of the set, and they surrounded it with dressing trailers so that no one could see him get out of the car and get into character until Iron Man 2008 was released in theaters. Ivan Vanko originally had a tattoo of Loki on his neck. But the film's producers were like, yo, hold up. Is that going to confuse some people? So the tattoo was removed in post-production using CGI, which I didn't really notice. A little fun fact. We heard Natalie Rushman. She was speaking some Latin, and I forget what she says. But she said something about like, drive yourself before we transport you.
Drive yourself home, or you. Yeah, it was drive yourself home, or we'll collect you.
Yeah. Tony Stark asks if she speaks Latin, and she says, she's like, Philostis sunt rerum species, and it's a quote from Lucio Seneca, meaning the appearance of things are deceptive. It's a little fun fact for you. So yeah, those are all the Easter eggs I have for you. Nothing too major pertaining to the comics. But yeah, it's what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, I definitely noticed there wasn't anything too big points towards the comics. Mostly all the tidbits I found were just building the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it's still cool.
Yes.
So what are our thoughts on the movie?
Oh my gosh. I like Iron Man. Like, for some reason, I think I've watched the Iron Man movies more than the other MCU movies. Not because they're my favorite, but I guess because they're my parents' favorite. I'm not sure. We always tended to watch them more, like get them from the library and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've seen Iron Man 2 before. It's been like 2 years, but I've seen it before, and I remember liking it. Like, I remember enjoying it. Enjoyed it
See,
a
this
lot this time.
viewing was my first viewing in a while. Because like as you guys might know, like I usually rarely watch a movie, a game. There's exceptions, like my favorite movies, like I've watched multiple times. I like the Spider-Man movies. I can watch literally any day of the week. Including Amazing Spider-Man. Like I can hop into any of those movies and get a decent amount of enjoyment from. But with the Iron Man movies, like I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I 100% did. Like,
Yeah.
I still think I prefer the original Iron Man just because it's really cool to see this world being set up. But at the same time, there are some elements that Iron Man 2 does way better than the first Iron Man. They're just like, it's kind of hard to determine which one I like more. Because they both...
Yeah, same here. Same here. I think really my deciding factor is, and I'll talk about this during Chillin' with the Villains, but like I think really my deciding factor on deciding that I liked this movie better than I liked Iron Man, it was just because I really like Sam Rockwell, and every time Mickey Rourke is on screen as Whiplash, I love it. He's just so awesome.
See, but save it for Chilling with the Villains. Save it for Chilling with the Villains.
We'll save it.
All right, but I overall I really enjoy this movie. We'll discuss later how we think going on with the ranking. Ranking is going to be actually interesting this time because we have material to rank. So
well, there will be a competition this time.
Yeah. What do you think, Tyler? What's your thoughts on this movie?
Oh, it could be better.
How?
I don't know. I'm in the middle of a league
Don't
match.
do that.
Don't say that. Oh goodness. I'll have to edit that out.
Yeah. So yeah, no. Like, what are your thoughts on the movie?
Why would you have to edit that out? Okay. The movie could be better. I guess like the first, part of it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Then it got really, really boring. And my first viewing, I had to cut out because I just wasn't enjoying myself at all. That's it. I don't really have any strong opinions on it.
See, I'm the opposite. Where like, I feel like the first act did kind of drag on a bit, a little bit, just a tad bit. But once we got Sam Rockwell's character introduced, once we got Mickey Rourke established, like it was just snap, snip, snippety, snap. Like where I feel like the third act was still weak compared to some of the other movies, but at the same time, like I feel like it was a lot more solid.
Oh yeah, and the humor, the charm in this movie it's just on the ball. Like I don't really know how to describe it.
100%.
But like it was funny. Like when they tried making like some of the jokes, for example, like some of the cameos, specifically like the Elon Musk one, is kind of a joke, but I guess that's just because of how awkward it is. Some of the quips that Tony makes don't really fall
disagree.
through
I
really
don't
well.
think it was awkward. Like, it was just short enough to be like, you know what, this is funny. I like it.
Okay.
It wasn't. If it was longer, I think I would agree with you. But it was short. It was like what, 2 seconds?
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few lines of dialogue. But like some of the jokes don't always land. But so many characters in this movie just have really good personality.
I 100% agree.
Like I think the one joke that really didn't, like, at first it was like, okay, that's kind of funny. The joke that really didn't get me very well was just every time Sam Rockwell made a joke about how Whiplash speaks Russian. It's just
that was a little. It was funny the first time around, but they kept coming back to it. It's like, okay, yeah, we get it.
But other jokes were really. It's just a funny movie.
I feel like the most funny part of the movie is when Tony Stark is on the board or whatever, talking to military dudes, and he's being an asshole, but at the same time, it's like, you kind of have a point, Tony. It's just funny. It's just funny seeing everyone get, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, we could see Stern getting really frustrated. And
he was getting roasted the whole time.
Yeah, no, it's funny though.
Also, this isn't like I know we're not really going forwards towards other movies right now, but it was weird because I completely forgot Stern was a character in this movie.
Is he a character in other movies?
He shows up in The Winter Soldier for like 5 seconds, and yet I remember him better in The Winter Soldier than I do in this movie.
I've never seen The Winter Soldier.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. You'll see. I have it written down to remind me to talk about it when we get to that episode.
I gotcha.
It's this movie has so much charm.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, like, compared to Iron Man, which was very and we'll talk about the world building later, but like when we're going through the movie. But compared to Iron Man, this movie is so much more comic book than the other one.
Overall, it's a really solid movie. Like, I liked it a lot.
Oh yeah. Right. Well, do we want to
I think we're going to go into plot. I have a little less to go off of this time. But I think I made the conscious decision not to make as deep notes, because, like, the Incredible Hulk one went pretty well, and I was going through that through memory. Let's, like, try something similar this time, So yeah, I think we open up with Vanko, don't we? And his dad.
Yes, you do.
Okay, yeah. We open up and his dad's dying, and Ivan's like, no, and then they see a blueprint or something like that, and we see that Howard Stark's name is next to Anton Vanko, and it's like, what does this mean? And we see, I think Ivan goes on to try to recreate the arc reactor, and that's when he's starting to build the Whiplash suit. So and we see on a TV the events of the ending of Iron Man, of the original Iron Man. It's like, it's like a fun little, like, connect the dots thing. I like it. So then we open up, and how many months has it been since Iron Man? I want to say 6 months, but I'm not sure.
I can't remember. It really doesn't matter in my brain how long it's been for that movie, like, because it sort of just feels like it could happen like a month later. It could happen a year later.
I think it's 6 months, if I recall correctly.
I think it's probably like 6 months, half a year, something like that.
So Tony Stark he used the Iron Man armor to bring a peace treaty, I think, between the major superpowers of the world. Um,
It says actually, it's a good thing. Like during the credits, they have a flash of like a newspaper, and it says Iron Man. I have it written down. Stabilizes East-West relations, and that immediately. So what I talked about in the first episode
mhm.
is that Iron Man 1 set itself apart by putting it from other superhero movies at the time, by putting itself into a space that was very familiar to the audience,
Yeah.
with like political differences between the Middle East and the United States. But um, immediately into this movie, it points out, it shows us how Iron Man as a character, after the first movie, as a result of that, Iron Man has changed the world landscape. Just this one character,
Yeah,
and the world
100%.
building does a great job of showing that. Because the world in this movie, compared to the first one, isn't as familiar. It's peaceful. So that also helps with the like what I mentioned earlier with the how comic booky this feels.
Hmm.
Is that it's out of our knowledge for what's
What?
going on in the world.
We just started, Mom.
Uh,
Watch TV.
so yeah,
Can you please ask
Can't you
finish?
do it outside?
No, I need the internet.
I want to watch TV, Ethan. Hurry up.
Continue.
continue. Oh, okay. I mean, I didn't really have much to say after that.
Oh, okay. No, but yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah,
I get you.
I was waiting for you to cut me off.
Okay, now, okay, yeah. So, she negotiated world peace or whatever. So he's reopening the Stark Expo, which is something his dad would have wanted or whatever relating to his dad, Um,
Yeah.
so he flies to Expo and in the Iron Man suit. He's making a flamboyant entrance, and I like it a lot. I like he throws up his arms in such a grandiose fashion. I'm like, you go for it, Tony Stark, bro. I like it. So he's showing off. He's the new symbol of world peace, whatever. So backstage, Tony he's testing his blood, and oh no, his arc reactor is poisoning his body slowly but surely. And
Um, this is kind of an Easter egg thing, but that entire scene with the Stark Expo, and when he like the model later on in the film, the model of like the city of the future or the city of tomorrow or something like that. Um, it's really it's kind of interesting because it's definitely just trying to give off that feel of like Walt Disney and like the World's Fair and stuff,
yeah,
early to mid 20th century. And so that's not really an Easter egg. It's sort of like a reference detail sort of thing that I really liked and appreciated.
hmm so like yeah, he's testing his blood, and it's again we see it's poisoning him. And after the event, we see Tony and Happy leaving. They're approached by a smoking hot woman, and she's like, "Oh, who is this?" And he hands her. I forget what they call it. Something with an S. It's like a sub something. But it's summoning him to the Senate Armed Forces Committee hearing, and Tony and Happy are like, "Well, Tony's like, how many miles to Washington?" And Happy's like 200 something miles, and they do it. They take a road trip. And Tony's new car. So next morning, we're at the hearing. So Tony's his usual stick of humor. He's becoming the center of attention, and he's kind of ignoring the fact that they classified the armor as a weapon. And Rhodes is not having the Senate because he knows the Senate is just trying to gobble goop him in a circle. I don't know what that means, but
They're trying to manipulate the
Yeah.
information to get.
yeah. And so Rhodes knows that.
Actually, more world building stuff. This like compared to the first one, I'd say the world building is a lot wider, and it does try and set up more conflict. And so we see testy relationship between Iron Man, Tony Stark, and the United States government. Because we see how it basically sets up that sort of idea that will again just continue on throughout the movies as superheroes are sort of dangerous to world governments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, like, we're getting this whole spiel, and then Justin Hammer comes in, and I really like this character a lot. So he comes in. He's I think the perfect foil to Stark's character. I love him so much. I like everything related to him. So, he's. Oh, also, how do I feel about Don Cheadle as Rhodey?
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
I've never been the biggest fan of him, to be honest.
I have to disagree on that one.
Nothing negative. I
Heavily.
don't have negative feelings about his performance. He's never stood out to me.
See, I've had negative feelings toward Terrence Howard, where I did not like the way he portrayed this. It's a very serious character, and I feel like I could never take Terrence Howard seriously because it's his manner of speaking was it was very loose, and I just didn't like that. So I very much prefer Don Cheadle's more poignant, more like by the books portrayal. I like that. I like Don Cheadle. I just like Don Cheadle as an actor a lot.
He's a great actor, but also the writing, because of course to general audiences this was like a huge surprise. People didn't know what to think when he came on screen, because they were like people who didn't pay attention to like trailers and stuff. They're like, oh, Terrence Howard's gonna be back, stuff like that. But the first dialogue that we hear Don Cheadle say is, "Look, it's me. I'm here. Deal with it. Let's move on."
100%.
It's a really great way to, and I'm disappointed they never did this with the Avengers, to introduce Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, because it's just a really great way.
The Avengers hasn't happened yet.
You know what's the Avengers?
Yeah, I think
has
the Avengers been confirmed at this point? Yeah, we're still in 2010 right now, dude.
Who's this Mark Ruffalo guy you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, but it's a really great way in the writing to introduce like a recasted character.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So I appreciated that. As soon as he came on screen and said that, I was like, they knew what they were doing.
So yeah, he again, he's just talking about he's like, bro. So no, yeah, Hammer came in. And so like Tony, he gives a rebuttal showing that he is Iron Man and will not part with his armor. So he makes a kind of joke, but the same comparison between indentured, an indentured servant joke or whatever it was. And so he's hacking into the computers right now and showing attempts at copying Tony's suit from Iran, North Korea, and I think it shows some footage from Hammer. Yeah.
No, Justin Hammer is trying to like unplug the TV, and the video goes on long enough to show that he virtually destroyed the person who was inside the suit, like physically.
Yeah. So Tony Stark still refuses to give the armor, and the piece he's being a badass. All right, a BA, and people like that. So now we're home. Tony Stark is talking to Jarvis, and he's analyzing the latest prototype and developments of the Iron Man suit. And Pepper comes in, they argue a bit, and like Pepper, he's making more money off of companies coming to stock than he ever did as CEO. And then he's like, I don't want to be CEO, and he makes Pepper this new CEO, and she's stunned. And so now we're at the next day, I think, and so Public enters. So he's signing off the company, and Tony is having fighting training with Happy, and I think he performs an illegal move. Like I think
boxing like illegal move.
Yeah, there's some MMA stuff going on. So yeah, it's Russman comes in, and it's like there's some sexual stuff going on. I feel like Tony Stark is kind of wants a piece of that pie, which I don't blame him. So yeah, Natalie performs a TKO and Happy. And we show that there's way more to her than what meets the eye. You know, I like that character building stuff. I liked it. Me like it. And so Tony Stark, he's heading to Monaco, which is a really pretty city, by the way. Monaco's absolutely gorgeous. I was watching it and I was like, ooh, wow, that's pretty. I'm getting a lot of I'm getting some Final Fantasy 15 vibes of Insomnia, and I like that. So yeah, that's irrelevant though. So we're at the affair, and this is where we see this. I think this is where we get the Elon Musk cameo. So he wants a panel at the Stark.
This is Elon's great performance.
Yeah. He said he wants a panel at Stark Expo showcase his latest invention, and Tony Stark is like, yeah. And so he walks off and takes all the readings of blood, and the poisoning is increased. Oh no. Tony decides that he's going to be driving the Stark Industries car instead of the driver that was pre-selected. And then he goes and enters a race. This is the part where I got some water and kind of forgot to pause, and so I was confused on how he got from the expo to, or he got to this part and then he got to the race. How did that happen? That was confusing to me.
And he sort of just did it. It was a surprise to everybody that he just sort of walked out and went to the race.
How close was the race?
It was going on. It was on the roads outside.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I was just a bit confused by that. So yeah, he enters the race, but Ivan Vanko comes in and he just messes stuff up. But under the suit, he's wearing the whiplash. I do. We'll talk about that later. So yeah, he whips some cars up. Boom, boom, and Happy and Pepper are like, oh my god! And then they give him the suit, and Iron Man stops him, and then he's like, you lose. So and then Tony Stark's like, what the hell? And so Tony Stark, he gets a private meeting with Vanko in custody. And Vanko, he's like, what? It's going to be a slow and painful way to die, that palladium poisoning. And Stark's like, how do you know? Maybe this guy's smart. But then Hammer breaks him out later. So he slips Vanko a meal consisting of chicken and mashed potatoes. The mashed potatoes do not look like potatoes because they are, in fact, not a potato, not mashed potatoes. They are a bomb. And we get a lookalike who comes in, and he does not look like Ivan at all. Which was weird. Yeah, really weird. He looked a lot like someone else, though. Who did he look like?
Yeah, I feel like the idea was just in the explosion, he'd die, and so they wouldn't be able to tell. He's still wearing the same uniform.
I mean, yeah, but I just thought it was weird.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's it was just weird because he comes in and I was confused. I was like, what's going on right now? You know what? The lookalike kind of looked like discount Woody Harrelson. Am I the one who got those vibes?
You're the only one, but I can see it.
Yeah, it was weird, but whatever. The lookalike Woody gets blown up, and so then Ivan's walking around, and then he gets bagged, and then we're in Hammer's place, and Hammer's like, you know what, I want to outdo Tony, and Vanko's like, oh, I can do that, but then he's like, I want my bird, my bird, I want my bird. And then we're like, yo, what? Oh, what? Hammer's like, oh, what do you mean bird? I came out from Russia, or I just Vanko isn't really communicating that well. He can speak English, but he's not really communicating that well, which is weird. Why don't you just say, hey, can you just give me my bird from Russia? It's here and here, But no, he's like, I want my bird. He said that a couple times too. He's like, I want my bird. But yeah, so yeah, he wants his bird. He wants his bird. So yeah. Now we're on a plane back home, and Tony and Pepper, they're talking, and Tony Stark's like, you know what? We can run away. Yeah. Oh yeah, but Stern's saying that Tony Stark lied to the Senate, and that he's in danger of being arrested on felony perjury charges. And Stark's like, you know what? Oh, yeah, because, Tony Stark was like, this was 20 away before replicating this, but we have this guy replicating it once. But he's not replicating it because it looks very primitive. But whatever. So, yeah, Tony Stark comes in to present Pepper, with a meal, and he's going to tell her the truth, but they have an it's awkward, and, Pepper knows something is up, and Tony Stark, he just doesn't tell her the truth, but it's weird. This talk, guys, alright, it's not that hard. But back home, Tony Stark is using Jarvis to conduct, investigations into Ivan Vanko. And he's like, oh, Anton Vanko was Howard Stark's partner, and so forth, and he was arrested for treason and deported to Russia, or yada yada. Not really important. But Tony Stark collapses, and Rhodey comes in. He's like, wow, this isn't a good look for you. And I really like Don Cheadle, guys. I like him a lot. But he shows Rhodey how the palladium is slowly poisoning him. And Rhodes is like, Rhodes is battling with the Pentagon to stop them from coming to Smile House and taking your suits to be used for weaponized weapons. And yeah, Don Cheadle, really good performance. I really like Don Cheadle. So Tony prepares for what he believes will be his last birthday party. He asks Natalie, like, well, what are you going to do? Like, what would you do for your last birthday party? And she's like, you know what? I would do whatever I wanted with whoever I want to do it with. Oh, yeah, you guys do it. But they don't do it. Because at a party, Tony Stark is drunk with the Iron Man suit and just making a fool of himself, shooting stuff. And then we get a fight scene. A really cool fight scene. This fight scene is way cooler than anything in Iron Man 1. Where we get to see my boy Rhodey fight off against Tony Stark, and it's cool. Because he's Tony Stark, he looks at the DJ, and he's like, play a fat beat a fat beat to beat my buddy's ass to, and he giggles like, it's funny, alright? It's hilarious. I like it a lot. This scene's really cool. But yeah, Rhodey flies off with the Armor 2. Well, with the Mark II armor, he delivers it to authorities. And then, Justin Hammer, he's later invited to study the suit to provide, weapons or whatever. But the next day, Tony Stark is in a donut. And we see Mr. S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury, played by Samuel L. Jackson. And I've always liked Fury. I really like Fury in the MCU. So he comes and he's like, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step out of the donut. And they talk about the Avengers Initiative or whatever. And
this is where I got really confused. Because Tony says something like, I don't want to join your super secret boy band. Which makes me confused as to how that works within the narrative if the post-credit scene from The Incredible Hulk is a thing. Because of course, I'm pretty sure, I'm not entirely sure.
Well, this movie takes place at the same time as Thor.
Does?
Yes,
okay.
It does. Yeah, because
it does.
Various comments about Nick Fury being busy with the South, or wherever New Mexico.
Like the Southwest region, and of course the post-credits.
Yes, Coulson makes a comment about being busy, being moved to New Mexico. This movie takes place at the same time as Thor.
Okay. But so what I'm saying is that it sort of confuses me as to where the Incredible Hulk fits on this timeline.
Same time. Incredible Hulk takes place at the same time
after Iron Man 2, or does it
also same time as Iron Man 2, if I remember correctly.
Okay, alrighty, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
It was just something that confused me.
Yeah, I get it. It's not explicitly said, but yeah, no. Thor and Incredible Hulk take place at the same time as this.
Righty.
So yeah, we're gonna talk about the Avengers. Yada yada yada. They're joined by Phil Coulson. Well, I've always liked Phil Coulson. And so we see Natalie Russman comes, and it turns out her real name is Natasha Romanoff. S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Planted at Stark Industries to monitor Tony. Why you gotta do that? Alright, yeah, just let me be. And so Tony Stark, he's hungover and stunned. And he fires Natasha, but then she tells Tony that, it's none of his business that he's under investigation from S.H.I.E.L.D. And she and Agent Coulson are there to make sure Tony Stark follows orders and doesn't screw up. And they mention palladium poisoning. They pretty much give him they tell him to figure it out. So they give him time to find an alternate element. To find an alternate element to keep him alive. So, yeah. We just get some stuff about Vanko and Anton, you know. So, he goes, and he's like... So now we're in Tony Stark's house, and, you know, Coulson, you know, he's like, yo, you're not going anywhere until Tony finds the answer that he's seeking. So, he's looking at the film, he's looking at the film, so he discovers a message from his father. So he's like, oh, that diorama was looking for real familiar. So he goes back to his old office, and Pepper's there, and they argue a bit, and we get a cute scene of Pepper's like, you know, the one thing I'm allergic to, and it's like Tony Stark's like, strawberries. I knew there was a correlation between you and strawberries, and I'm like, okay, Tony Stark, like. I feel like that's just so relatable because I do have those moments where I'm like, there's a connection with you between something and something. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know there's a correlation. Like, I've had those moments before, and it's just like, it was funny. All right, it was hilarious. I liked it a lot. I just really like. I feel like that Pepper and Tony have just a lot of chemistry, just way more chemistry between. I don't even remember the girl's name from Incredible Hulk. That's... What is her name?
Wait, Becky? Betty.
Betty, it's Betty. Yeah, Betty.
It's Betty.
Alright, so yeah, it's just a weird thing. But yeah. Not a weird thing, but yeah, we just get through the cute scene, it's like, it's funny. And so... Tony Stark, he goes back to his house, and then he's looking at the thing, and he discovers that it's somehow connected to a new element. Like, how does that work?
That's something. That's another thing that stood out to me. Because that whole scene, I even wrote it down. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of cool. Like, it's cool in that comic book way of, it doesn't make any sense, but we'll make it make sense. Just suspend disbelief a little bit more. How does Iron Man not die whenever he breaks the sound barrier?
Yeah. Like, I'm good at suspending my disbelief. So, it's not something I overly care about, but it's just like something that made me go like, what's going on there? But yeah, they discovered a new element. Did they ever see what the new element is called?
No. Actually, if they do, I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either. But yeah.
I don't think they do.
But he creates that oh-so-sexy triangular arc reactor piece. And it cures his poisoning. It's much more powerful than Stark's earlier version. He's a big boy now. And Coulson comes and he's free to go, and that shield is reassigned into a new case in New Mexico. Coulson is reassigned... Coulson has been reassigned to New Mexico. You know, Thor stuff. And now we're at Hammer Industries, and Vanko, he's like... He changed the design of the suits. And Hammer's like, oh, wait a minute. This isn't... Like, we see that, like... He's making drones and not suits, and Hammer wants suits. And Hammer's not happy, but then he's like, drone better. But it's like, okay, these drones better blow my mind, boy, buckaroo. But Hammer, he's unveiling his military drones. And Rhodey's there as he's there in the War Machine armor. But it's discovered soon that Vanko has pre-programmed...
They don't call him War Machine at all in the movie. It's just War Machine is like a little quip that Tony uses as sort of like an insulting nickname. Mm-hmm. But I guess it sticks later on. It's interesting.
It's comic stuff, for lack of better words. But yeah, no, we see him in the War Machine armor, and he looks cool. He looks really cool. I like his design. So yeah, and then we soon discover that and then Iron Man comes up and he's like, "Where is she? I mean, where's Ivan?" And Hammer's like, "What do you mean, Ivan? Who is Ivan?" And then soon the drones just go trigger happy. But Natasha's able to give Rhodey control of his armor again. And so Stark fight. We get a really cool fight scene with Rhodey and Stark teaming up, and it's cool. They combine their powers, and they eventually, Vanko lands in a upgraded, it's an upgraded Whiplash suit. Like, it's yeah.
Hey, what's funny? We'll talk about it during chilling with the villains.
Yeah.
But I actually think the first suit looked cooler than the second one.
Yeah. But yeah, we can upgrade Whiplash suit, which doesn't look like anything from the comics, but it's just a cool thing. But yeah, so they fight, but it's not a long fight scene, which is why I don't like it as much. It's not long, because they soon, my boy Don and Stark, they combine their blasters, not blasters. Yeah, but the laser, and they kill him, right? He's dead. Like, I'm pretty sure
I don't know.
Like, it's not revealed that he's dead, but he's probably dead. But, Ivan's like, you lose. Because, oh no, they're actually bombs, too.
Oh, right, yeah. They don't kill him.
Oh, yeah, the bomb,
explodes.
Yeah.
He's totally dead.
He's dead. So the bomb.
If he shows up in a future movie, I'm going to be confused.
Yeah, so they go rescue. He goes rescues Pepper, and they're on a roof, and they kiss, and then Rhodes has come up. Rhodey's up there, and he's like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And Tony Stark tells Pepper the truth that he was dying, but he's not anymore. And Stark tells Rhodey to leave, but Rhodey's like, "Yo, he was here first. Get your own roof." And it's funny. I actually laughed really hard at that. I don't know why, but it was really funny.
Yeah.
But
it's again, this movie is quite. It's a lot funnier than the first one.
Then we get a briefing between. So Fury's just like, yo, Stark is unsuitable for the Avengers Initiative, and Shield wants Stark as a consultant. And then Stark, he agrees on the condition that Senator Stern personally present him and Rhodey their medals for bravery. So Stern isn't amused though, and he's like, we got a really funny line. It's like, it's crazy how annoying a little prick can be. It's like, I got you, bro. But then we get post-credit scene, and we see Coulson. We see Mjolnir, and it's a really cool scene for the time. Like nowadays, it's like, oh, cool, but like for the time, that was huge.
Definitely,
that was a big deal. Like I remember that vividly. Be like, yo, that's. I know what that is.
That was really the first, like
8-year-old lad, I think. I think I was 8 when this movie came out. But yeah, I remember it being a really big deal. Because, like, it's just more world-building stuff. It's cool. And that is the plot of Iron Man 2. I lost track of what I was doing for a second there. But yeah, Iron Man 2. So yeah, like overall, like I see, it's weird. I don't know how okay, so we do chill with the villain.
Let's go ahead.
Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to Chillin' with the Villains, where we are ranking every villain that we talk about ever. So on this episode of Chillin' with the Villains, are we? So Hammer and Ivan, Whiplash and Hammer. We're combining, right?
We're for the ones that have multiple villains, like we'll combine them.
So yeah. So yeah, we get. We get the. So yeah, Hammer. So where do we think? So right now, the current ranking with Children with the Villains from worst to best. Number 2, Abomination and Kinda Ross. Number 1, Obadiah Stane, who is the Ironmonger. Where do we think?
So automatically, it's interesting because I think personally, like enjoyment-wise, I think this movie had better villains than both of the other movies.
I didn't enjoy Whiplash as much, but I liked Hammer a lot. I think Hammer just elevates. I think
here's the thing.
Hammer's personality elevates this movie a lot.
So a big thing that happened in Iron Man and also in the Incredible Hulk is that the basic structure is that the first two acts of the movie, like the first two acts of the movie, the villains are they're like normal and stuff. They have virtually nothing. They're just normal people. But then in the last act, they magically gain the same powers or technology that Hero has. But what's interesting about this is that the movie is sort of instead of it being just like a last act. Okay, yeah, the whole movie is about Iron Man trying not to die from the palladium poisoning, and Hammer trying to get access to the suits. And that's the whole conflict with the movie. And so we actually start out the first sort of battle in the movie between and Iron Man is Whiplash has the same sort of technology. It's in a different form,
it doesn't feel as like where the hell does this come from as Obadiah Stane getting the
exactly.
Because we're established at the beginning of the movie that Ivan knows how to recreate this stuff.
Oh yeah, and that's a really good thing for these villains.
So number one, do we say number one?
I would say number one. It's definitely the best so far.
All right, so number one, what should I call them? How should I bond them together?
Whiplash and Hammer, I guess.
So MC Hammer. Oh wait, no. Hammer's gun fetish.
Oh goodness. And kind of weird.
His BDSM friend.
Oh goodness. But yeah, so it's also kind of important to note that like there is a sort of way that sort of just like magic ending where the villain, the opposing force has the same sort of technology. Like there are fights between like the fights between Tony and Rhodey it's virtually that. Like Rhodey has the exact same technology, like to the point, where they're using the same powers against each other. But it doesn't feel disingenuous because that's a major plot point.
Yes.
Is that Rhodey took the suit to protect Tony from her.
Yes.
Yeah, it feels right to the audience. Also, another thing that helps.
So I'm gonna rename
these villains
this.
better.
This is gonna be Hammer and his BDSM friend, not Hammer's gun fetish. Doesn't make sense. There we go. So yeah.
Alrighty. But so another thing that makes these villains just so great compared to the past three, is that just a fun guy to have on screen, like Sam Rockwell. I love Sam Rockwell. He's so funny, and he does really great.
Yes.
And of course, like I mentioned earlier, every time Whiplash is on screen, he just like awesomeness. Like he's just a genuinely awesome presence. Like he's just like using the whips and stuff and just blowing things up. Half of his screen time is just him facing the camera and things blowing up behind him.
Yeah.
It's like textbook awesomeness for a comic book. And so it's just really great to see that instead of what's Jeff Bridges yelling, "Tony Stark, build this in a cave!"
Tony! Yeah. So yeah, I agree with this. So our current ranking, number 3, Abomination and Kinda Wasp. Number 2, Obadiah Stane, who is the Ironmonger. Number 1, Hammer and his BDSM friend. Should we go on to ranking the movie?
Yes, we should.
All right, so ranking. So our current ranking is number 2, The Incredible Hulk. Number 1, Iron Man. Where do we think this should rank? Tyler had a pedally, but I have his ranking. So I'm gonna read off his current ranking. His current ranking is like he likes Iron Man more, but he thinks this movie is better than Incredible Hulk. So we all think this movie's Incredible Hulk. So
yeah, this movie is so much better than The Incredible Hulk.
I see. My thing is like, I don't know. I think for me personally, since we already discussed Chilling with the Villains and we already have established that villain is better, I think I'm more comfortable in saying that I prefer Iron Man over Iron Man 2. Because
I think I'm gonna try and go at it. So something that I like. So it's weird for me too because I think like generally the better movie is Iron Man. Like I think Iron Man is a better movie, but I also just like Iron Man 2 more. Like if I had to choose between one or the other to watch like once a week for the rest of my life, I'd choose Iron Man 2.
Yeah, no, I get you.
But I think Iron Man is probably the better movie. It drags at some points, but it does play it safe a lot. And Iron Man 2 is awkward at some points. Like it doesn't drag as much as Iron Man 1, but it is awkward. Like there are some moments where just like the jokes are. It's sort of like there are sort of like pauses after some jokes where they're waiting for the audience to laugh. And some jokes go on for too long, like Ivan speaking Russian.
Yeah.
But I think Iron Man is the better movie.
Okay, so we don't even have to vote. We agree that Iron Man's number 1. Or do you still want to vote?
I vote Iron Man is better than Iron Man 2, but Iron Man 2 is better than The Incredible Hulk.
Okay, yeah, so our new ranking for Marvel's Retrospective is number 3, The Incredible Hulk, number 2, Iron Man 2, and number 1, Iron Man. So, yeah, do you have anything else to add before we start to wrap things up?
Not really. I will say I am actually quite excited to see how Thor ties into this mess.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna get a little bit complicated, and I remember Thor as not my favorite movie. It's not my favorite
I remember
one.
being
That
really
may change.
bored.
And of course, it's directed by one of my favorite people, Kenneth Branagh. So I don't know. We'll see.
I remember a lot of Dutch angles, and I don't like Dutch angles, so we're figuring it out. Yeah.
I'm excited to see.
Do we have any other last comments on this movie? Do we have any more comments about Iron Man 2?
Oh, I think I'm good.
So yeah. Thank you everyone for joining us on this marvelous retrospective. So you can find me again on YouTube, on just nearest here is YouTube. This podcast is on like Spotify. No, it's not on Spotify yet. It's on SoundCloud. It's on Podbean. It's on YouTube. It's on all sorts of. You can find it pretty much everywhere. And same with social media, where you can find me everywhere. Just search like the Detective Prince 46, and you'll find me. I'm everywhere. So yeah, this has been it from HMR. Thank you guys for watching. Next week, Thor. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and I hope you guys have a marvelous day.